We need to talk about InZoi. I went into this game blind, and I'm the kind of person who more so enjoys decorating, building homes, or designing characters mainly in modded ways. So I dove right into this game with no clue on how to do any of it. And along the way, I found myself having to Google, search Reddit, or Steam for questions that I kept having and how to do certain things in the game. So hopefully this video will save you some time or give you some inspo. I've yet to build a full house in the game yet, and there are still some things that I definitely don't understand, like why this balcony is missing and how to fix it, but I have learned a lot while decorating this apartment. First off, if you do load into a fully furnished home, you can sell all the items in it to be able to afford your own items, and use that money to buy things I liked. The first thing I like to do when I'm about to do the interior of the house is to turn off the grid. I'm not a fan of it. I like seeing the floor better. And you can do that by going up to the top bar and turning off the showing floor grid. I also like to play with the time of day as well, just to really see how the coloring is of certain items. I honestly really love this feature. Using custom decorations is something that I love doing, such as these YSL bags. And I've done all of this on InZoi by using Canvas, which you can access through the game, and it allows you to look at custom content that people have created. You can also favorite things, so you can go back later and look at them and download things that you want to use for that specific build you're doing. And people actually have profiles on here, so if you like one thing, you could go to their profile and you may find other things that you like. You just have to be careful with how good of quality the items are. This stack of magazines with Kendall Jenner on them, for example, is a good quality 4K render. And I say that because as you scroll through and look through, for example, furniture, that's the section I like to look through, there are some items that aren't great quality. And honestly, I've tried to create some stuff, it doesn't come out the way I want it to. This Monstera, for example, is a high quality image and it actually works properly in game. There are creators such as this one here that I really like that are producing tons and tons of really beautiful objects in the game. I try to look out for the ones that say that they're high quality, 4K, functional, words like that. And I'll show you why in a moment. Apparently, you can even get your own matching gaming PC. One of my favorite things that I've learned is how to make functional, modded furniture. This chair here, for example, isn't actually the chair that it appears to be. It's actually the original beanbag chair in the game. So let's go to a blank wall here in the bedroom so that I could show you how to do this. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to place this custom mod mirror that I downloaded from Canvas. First off, I could place it, but I can't properly move it. So let's solve this issue first. Moving modded objects is a little bit different than moving normal objects. For example, it won't let me move it up the wall. It's pretty much glued to the floor in a way. But the way to do this is to click on the object that is modded or custom, and then you want to go to those little arrows on the far left of the bar that pops up. This will give you more options as to how to transform the object. You can pull these thicker arrows here and you can extend the object in different directions, meaning that you can make a small object larger or a larger object smaller, or you can distort the object. If you click on the arrow that is pointing up, you can move the object up and down, and the one that is pointing forward, back and forward, for example, and then the other one left and right, obviously. And this allows you to position the modded object. However, that object is not functional, as you can see when I click back to Cassie here in live play. So to fix that, we're going to have to delete the object and start again. You're then going to want to click back over to build mode and go to the furniture section. You're then going to go to the search bar and search for an item that is similar to the modded item that you want to replace it with. In this case, we're going to find a mirror. You're then going to take the mirror, which as you can see, I can freely move, and you're going to place it in the spot that you want to put your modded item. For a while, I didn't know this option existed because I would always click on the color option where you could change the tone, you could place a texture. However, there's a little bar here where you can click on appearance. This is where all of the canvas items will go that you're able to replace the original items with. And here we're going to find our mirror and we're going to essentially place it over top of that item. Using the bars on the side, this is how you're going to basically place the item and set it where you want it. And now as you see, as we go back to live mode, we're able to use the mirror as a functional mirror. This entire dining room, for example, is entirely modded. Let's add in that Monstera that I downloaded earlier from Canvas. Some items the game won't allow you to place, so you have to hold down Alt and then it'll allow you to place it where you want. And as you can see, this item is completely three-dimensional and it looks like it's part of the game. Even though it's a custom item, all of the items in this dining room are custom, which is why it's so important to choose high-quality downloads, so that they actually look high quality in the game. Because sometimes you can end up with items like this. And let me show you an issue I was running into when I was trying to mod these chairs. So I went ahead and placed down one of the original chairs from the game, and then I applied the mod. However, when I did, it started clipping through the floor, and I honestly didn't think it was going to be usable at this point. However, that's when I finally realized that there were these adjustable scales here where you could actually move the item up and down. You can change the size, you can make a move left to right. This table here is also a mod. However, the issue I am now running into that I haven't been able to solve yet is that some of these items aren't usable because of the placements when you overlay the mod. So the table seems to work, but she can't sit in the chairs for some reason. So let me know if you have any tips for that. Here's an example of a functional light. Another issue I was running into with Canvas items was that I wasn't able to place them on surfaces. So in order to do that, you have to sit the item on the ground first, and then just like how I showed you with the mirror, you have to move the item up and then into position using the arrow system. The thing with that is sometimes it doesn't want you to put the item there, so you have to hold down Alt the entire time that you're moving around the object. Do not let it go, or else it'll just clip it back to the ground. So this entire time I'm holding Alt, and then as you can see, it's kind of overlapping some of the other items on the counter. So then I used this little turning arrow here to rotate it so that they weren't overlapping. But then I noticed that it was still kind of clipping through the counter, so I went and moved it up using that little circle in the middle. It kind of lets you levitate items smoother. And now we have our influencer's cluttered counter. I also just appreciate how you can customize almost anything in the game. And so I've been testing out some different patterns that I found online to try to make carpets that look realistic. This one, for example, is a kind of jute carpet. The only issue I've been running into is that the patterns don't exactly line up, so you get lines like this in them. But I feel like if you had a pattern that doesn't cut off at the edge, it might look more seamless. Customizing art is probably my favorite part of the game, and if you're an artist, you could honestly draw whatever you want and then upload it to put on your walls. I am not an artist, so I've been going on Pinterest and scrolling around on there, searching up things such as living room inspo, and then going and finding art that people have used in their homes. You can then use Google Lens to try to find that image and then screenshot it and apply it in game. Then you want to use the little slide bars to position it properly so that it's centered and fits into the frame properly. Another place I've been liking to go for inspiration is Etsy, where I'll take an image from there and then upload it in. Flooring is one of my favorite parts to customize. And The Sims has tons of custom flooring mods that you can get, but I haven't found many for here yet, so I've been doing my own. I love penny tile, so I ended up finding a penny tile to put into my bathroom. And this one actually looks pretty seamless. There is a little bit of flaws to it. It's not perfect though. This is another example of getting a high quality image online and then putting it in for flooring. My one tip though is making sure you get a grouted floor image, or else it's gonna look unfinished when you look closely at it. See the difference here where this tile was grouted, so it looks like a finished floor. You can also do the same thing with the walls and find wallpaper online and then screenshot it, save it, and then upload it into the game so that you can have custom wallpaper. Although again, it doesn't really go onto the wall seamlessly. That's something that I'm having some issues with when it comes to certain patterns. Let's jump into a few gameplay tips that I learned. The UI on your screen is something that you can customize as well in this game. So if you don't like the way it looks, you can move all of these little things around on the screen and place them where you want them. And if you do want more money to play the game a certain way, you can click on Psycat's guide here and you can use the money cheat that's built right into the game. And it'll give you 100,000 Meow coins every time you click on it. My Zoe hasn't gotten sick yet in the game. However, if your Zoe does get sick and they're coughing and sneezing, you need to find a first aid kit to cure them so that they get better and they don't die. You can find them easily by going to build mode and searching first aid kit under furniture. Another realistic thing about InZoi is that your house will get dirty, so you either need to get a vacuum and start cleaning the house, or if you hate cleaning like Cassie here, you can go into your smartphone and click on the Pocket Market where you can find hireable services. But the catch is, just like in real life, they're not always available. So if you need a service, you better make sure that you book it before they get sold out. Another thing to be aware of is your needs. However, you may be out somewhere and you don't want to have to go home to go to sleep or use the bathroom, and there is a sort of cheat to fix that. If you click on your Zoe card button, there's an option for the Meow Store. When you click on it, there's a kiosk that opens up where you can use donuts to essentially buy out your needs. And you can get these donuts by completing different tasks and wants that the Zoes have. For example, my hunger is getting low, so I can buy one of the hunger donuts and it will fulfill my hunger so that I can continue doing what I want to do. This is definitely a random tip, but I couldn't figure out for the longest time how to get my Zoe to dance when there was people singing, and there doesn't seem to be a way besides turning on one of the speakers and then clicking on the speaker again and selecting this option here, which then opens up this box here where you can select who to dance with, and if you don't select anyone, your Zoe will just dance by themselves. But then that led me to thinking that since my Zoe is an influencer, she should have her own TikTok dances. So that's how I ended up doing some AI emotes. All I did was go and screen record some dances off of YouTube videos. Then I just went to one of the basic editors on my computer, cut the videos down so that they were the only thing on the screen, and then imported them into InZoi. And let me tell you, the results were pretty good. And then we have my master creation of Can InZoi twerk.
Nothing that makes me happy. Oh, hold my beer for a minute. I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning. Oh, and this is just the beginning. I need a big change, help me feel like living. I need a big swing, home runs I'm hitting, and I'll never look back. Moving on till I get it all. And we all got dreams. We all want things.
Okay, in all seriousness, not everyone is going to be making money off of TikTok dances. So there is a way to get an actual job. And you do that by going on your smartphone and clicking on the Careers tab. This will give you the options for both part-time as well as full-time jobs available in the city at that time. However, if you don't want to have a normal 9-to-5, there are still other ways to make money in InZoi. If you want to have a self-employed character, you could do something like be an influencer or do some sort of video editing. That's the path that we're taking with Cassie here. And once your Zoe completes editing a video, they could sell it for actual Meow coin. But it is definitely not as profitable at this point in time as a part-time or full-time job. I've noticed a lot of people having an issue with their Zoes getting hungry all the time, and I found a bit of a workaround for having food on you. So let's go find, that is the wrong way, let's go around. If you go over to a vending machine or a food stand of some sort, and you purchase food, you're gonna wanna click on the food item and tell your Zoe to put it in their bag. You're then gonna wanna cancel the eating action, which will then cause your Zoe to put it away, which then stores the food item on your Zoe, so that if you're out somewhere and you're suddenly hungry, you can just pull out a bag of chips. Another very important thing to do is to complete your wants. Completing these also gives you those donuts so that you can buy those items that can restore things like your hunger or your sleep. You can also change your Zoe's preferences to go along with the storyline you want them to follow, so you can make them either like things, hate things, or just be neutral on them. And those all affect your wants. So for example, Cassie wants to do some yoga, so we went home to her yoga mat and completed that want, and she's now really happy. I've definitely ran into some issues though where I couldn't find how to complete some of the urges before, such as one time Cassie wanted to eat ramen, and for the life of me I couldn't find anywhere online with info of how to find ramen in Bliss Bay, so that urge didn't get complete. But overall, I think InZoi has a lot of potential, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds for this game. I grew up playing The Sims and I just recently re-downloaded it and I started playing around on there again. However, I always mod the hell out of Sims because I like a more realistic graphic. And so when I found InZoi, I was extremely excited because this is the kind of game I've been waiting for. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement, but we do have to remember that it's still in early access. And I'm just so excited for what's to come. So let me know if these tips helped you, and if you have any other tips for anyone, please leave them in the comment section, and let's all help each other out.
Nothing that makes me happy. Oh, hold my beer for a minute. I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a